I'm the owner of Blue Monkey Tea Shop in Pittsburgh, and today's presentation is all about white teas. White tea is very unique, very interesting, and unfortunately not so popular as the other teas like black tea, oolong, even green tea. And so I'm here today to promote white tea and to tell you what to look for, how to steep it, and basically how to enjoy it in the best way possible, because this tea is very rewarding. This tea is amazing. And it would be a good alternative for people who drink green tea, but they don't like that pungent kind of little bitter taste, and they're still looking for tea with a high level of antioxidants. So white tea has even more antioxidants than green tea, and it's more delicate, mellow, sweeter. And also white tea is a great tea type to explore for people who want to learn more and venture more into the world of teas and look for new teas, maybe from different terroirs, and with the myriad of unique tastes and aromas, and because white teas do provide that. Let's talk a little bit about, before I explain how white tea is made, I would like to talk a little bit about how teas are made in general, depending on type of tea. So as you all know already, or if you don't, I'm going to tell you, all tea comes from the same plant. The plant is called Camellia sinensis. Camellia sinensis. So whether it's green, white, oolong, black tea, they all look the same in the beginning. They come from the same plant. And when they make green tea, they steam the leaves, whether, or heat them in woks. And heating the temperature, high temperature, causes the oxidation process to stop. So basically, they're trying to preserve the tea in the freshest form possible. Black tea, opposite. They're actually doing everything to age the leaves, pretty much a process that's called oxidation, by basically mechanical processing, bruising, twisting leaves, cutting them, and what it does, it creates a tea of stronger, more robust flavor. Oolong teas are somewhere in between. So oolong teas are partially oxidized, and it can vary from a very small degree of oxidation, like maybe 10-15%, when oolong tea can resemble more so green tea, or they can be very oxidized, like up to 80% or even higher, and then they are very similar to black teas, but not quite. So let's go back to white tea. What's different about processing of the white tea comparing with the others? So it's all about prolonged withering stage. What is withering? Withering is basically a natural process of wilting. However, controlled withering prevents leaves from getting moldy. And withering can be done by spreading leaves outdoors on bamboo mats or tarps, and then gathering them and in the final stage drying them up. Or they can be withered all the way through until they naturally dry up too, depending on the weather conditions. This withering process can also be done indoors in specific troughs, like tubes, and sometimes it might be even accelerated a little bit with warm air being blown over or under. And so it's all about this withering stage, which comparing to other types of tea processing is much more extended. And that prolonged withering is what allows tea to develop this wonderful, specific, unique flavor and aroma. We're talking mostly about floral aromas and flavors in white tea. And the final characteristic of white tea will also depend on the cultivar, because yes, there's only one species, it's called Camellia sinensis, but we have two subspecies. One is Camellia sinensis, which means Chinese, and the other one is Camellia sinensis assamica. Also, it depends on particular cultivar, which is like subspecies or some kind of hybrid specifically developed by the grower. It also will what will determine the final taste of aroma of white tea will also depend on the ratio of buds, those youngest little parts of the plant, like I have here, or two leaves, because white teas can contain just buds like silver needle, or they can contain buds and one or two leaves as well. And of course, the other factor that would influence the final characteristic of white tea, and as well as other teas, will be terroir. And terroir is a combination of, soil, weather, climate in general, also positioning on in this particular area, because believe it or not, but tea grown on one side of the hill will taste different, slightly different than tea that's grown on the other side of the hill, for example, or tea leaves that were picked on April 15th are going to make tea that's going to taste different than tea leaves picked from the same exact plant like maybe a week later. So this all accounts for terroir. Terroir, just like with wine. Okay, not to bore you, I want to show you a couple teas today, just briefly, and then I will talk about this in a little more detail. We have very special tea here called silver needle, otherwise called, let me see here, I want to pronounce, Bao Hao In Zhen, which sometimes they mispronounce it, but I will write it down and I will show you this name. And the other type of tea is called Pai Mutan or Bai Mutan. And this is ours spells as Pai Mutan, but it's the same tea as Bai Mudan. Bai Mudan. Let's see. Put this here. I don't see anyone, so I'm not sure if you guys can see me or hear me at all. Like I said, we have really trouble with video quality today, but I know you can hear me. And like I said before, if you cannot hear me, you can always watch this video later, because we're also videotaping on regular camcorder. And this video will go on our YouTube channel, Blue Monkey Tea YouTube channel, but we're also going to post it on Facebook as well. So don't despair. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting. So it's all about withering. The white tea is different in processing from other types of tea, that the withering process is extended and it's much longer than in any other tea processing. It takes 10,000 buds to make 1 kilogram of this tea. So approximately 4,500 or so to make 1 pound of silver needle. Um, so this, I started talking about silver needle, and I'm going to write the name, the Chinese name. It's called Bai Hao Yin Zhen. Bai Hao Yin Zhen. Yin Zhen. Bai Hao Yin Zhen. And before I talk about this particular tea, there are two main cultivars of white tea out there. One is called Da Bai, and Da Bai means large white leaf. So as the name indicates, it's a larger leaf. And the other one is called Xiao Bai, which means small leaf. So both of these have a lot of hairs because whether it's a tip, a bud, or leaf, they always will have a lot of hairs on them because they were processed very gently. So those little hairs were not destroyed during processing like it happens with processing of the green teas or black teas. And silver needle, basically, Bao Hao Yin Zhen, is the top of the crop. I mean, this is the top shelf. This is the best, considered one of the best teas out there. And I want to show you up close, and if you can see, this consists only of the buds, the tip, a very small buds, not even fully, not developed at all into the leaf. And because they will need energy to open up into a leaf, they have this energy stored inside in the form of sugar. And that's why they taste sweeter than other forms of tea. Now, the other popular type of white tea is called Bai Mu Dan. Or Pai Mu Dan. And this is, remember what I say, Bai means large leaf, Bai, and then Xiao means small leaf. So this also will be made from the cultivar with larger leaves. And I wrote two names because sometimes this tea appears as Bai Mu Dan, and sometimes as Pai Mu Tan. And this is our Pai Mu Tan right here. And Pai Mu Tan will have a bud, and sometimes one or even two small leaves. And let me see if we can actually see that here. Break time! Don't go away. I can find some scoop here. That will work. I just don't want to stick my hand in here. Aha! Aha! Here we go. So this is example of Bai Mu Dan white tea that has a bud, and also in this particular example there's one bud and one leaf. And sometimes they may have two leaves. And bud will have hairs all around it, and that's why it looks kind of whitish. And leaves will also have a little bit of hairs underneath. Ooh, this tea. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Oh. I will use this later. So these were examples of 2 white teas. They are not flavored, pure white tea that we carry. And of course, they're available on our website, www.bluemonkeytea.com. I want to mention a couple other types of white tea for tea connoisseurs. We don't have them in stock right now, but I'm thinking about bringing them in too. One of them is called Gong Mei. Gong Mei. And it's, speaking of Bai Mutan, the translated name is white peony. So you can find it under name Bai Mutan, Pai Mutan, Bai Mudan, Pai Mutan, or white peony. Okay, Gong Mei is another type of white tea. In translation, it's called Tribute Eyebrow. It's a lower grade white tea. It has older, sometimes broken leaves and less buds, and it's kind of gray-green in color. However, the processing is as of white tea, but it's a lower grade white tea. And there's one more I want to mention, at least one more. And thank goodness Margaret took some Chinese classes some time ago. I didn't learn much, but I've learned how to pronounce some things. It's not gonna... Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I hope everyone is enjoying some Christmas food and maybe some tea. Did you guys get any tea for Christmas? Yue Guang Bai. Yue Guang Bai. That translates into moonlight white tea. This tea is interesting because it's actually from variety Assamica, and it is withered in darkness to prolong the withering stage, and it's supposedly very complex. It's slightly oxidized too, that's something else about white tea, that white tea can be actually slightly oxidized. And very aromatic. Leaves are almost black on one side. I can't wait to order that tea. I hope we can get it here soon because it sounds very interesting. So that was the Yue Guang Bai. Yue Guang Bai. White tea also now is manufactured in Darjeeling, in India, also in Sri Lanka. And I was recently doing class on African teas, and there's at least one plantation in Africa, in Malawi, called Satemwa Estate, that also produces one of their types of tea as a white tea. So it's not just, but most of the white tea come from, and originally was developed in Fujian province in China. Okay, so that was part about what white tea is, how is it processed. And now let's talk about how to make white tea in order to enjoy it, because it's a little tricky. And one thing is that white teas are very gentle, very delicate, and has unique but very slight flavor. And so you kind of have to prepare yourself for tasting before you drink it. Some people have very developed taste buds and they can taste it very well. And some people have a little hard time tasting white teas. So especially when you first try white tea, try not to eat anything, have clean palate. Also use proper steeping, proper amount, soft water is always best, and also read about this. Like, prepare yourself. Find out what notes are you supposed to look for, what tastes, and this will help you identify the taste and taste it better, trust me. There's a whole process of steeping and enjoying teas, which I talked about this in advanced tea class, and I will do class like this again, I promise. But this proper tea taste, steeping and tasting comes really handy, really useful, especially in steeping and tasting of the white tea. First off, you need, like I said, you need good quality white tea, and then you need to measure proper amount, because guess what? What happened to that white tea? This is exactly, oh, not anymore. Okay, let's just do this. So how many grams it was? 2. I'm going to show you what 2 grams of white tea looks comparing to black tea, just to make sure that you know. If you want to, drink tea and measure proper amounts, it's really good idea to get a gram scale, because the amounts of tea are so small that it's hard to weigh it on a ounce scale. Let's do this. There.
Measure the black tea first or second.
Okay. 2. I wish I had the same. 1 second. Okay, I measured 2 grams of white tea. This is the white peony by Motan. And 2 grams of black tea. And look how visually it looks much. Can you get close? You see, this is the same exact weight of teas. And why am I showing this? Because when you measure white tea, if you want a white tea to taste good, you have to make sure you measure good amount of tea, which is 2 grams per cup. Cup meaning 6-7 ounces. So when you guys make a mug of tea, you actually should probably measure about 3 to 4 grams of tea. Okay. And let's do this. This is silver needle.
Make sure this is 2 grams, Margaret.
It's okay. I did measure it, so. But I want to measure, because this is even going to look more. There. No, this actually looks a little less. Oh, I know why. Haha, it's very interesting. So this is silver needle. Two grams. Silver needle, black tea, I think it was English breakfast, and 2 grams of...
Bring them closer to you.
Well...
Just a little bit.
I can hold 3. But all these teas have 2 grams, okay? There
You're
are 2
below the
grams.
frame. There you go.
2 grams of tea. So we're talking, I just want to show you how different 2 grams of white tea look comparing to black tea. So if you use too little, if you just take 2 teaspoons of white tea, it's probably going to be maybe 1.5 grams, while you're supposed to use 3 to 4 grams per cup. So it's not going to taste like anything. Next thing is temperature, the water temperature, and timing. And there are quite a few different schools on that. Depending, oh, and I want to tell you something about silver needle. So it looks like a little less than bimutan, because this only consists of buds, tips, and they're pretty dense. Okay, so they're pretty dense, and this will matter when steeping, because when you're steeping silver needle, in order to get a stronger taste, it's actually better to steep it in a little hotter water, because they're tough. They're a little tough. They're thick, and to extract the flavor and aroma, you have to treat them, with a little higher temperature, and maybe steep a little longer. So remember to use a proper amount of tea when steeping, proper amount of white tea, and usually it's about 4 grams per mug. We're talking about 12 to 14 ounce mug, because that's how people here in America make tea. I have 2. You can also use Gaiwan if you want to make it in the Eastern way. But I just want to focus today on proportions and a proper steeping of white tea, so you get the best tea out of it, the best tasting tea possible. So one method will be, I don't have a kettle here. One method will be to use water that's a little cooler, about 185 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about the same temperature as we use for green tea. And I will use silver needle. Okay. And I will be using these 2 mugs, and no infuser, no strainer, just to show you what those leaves are going to do. Okay, so this is 4 grams. Okay, and this is 4 grams. Oh, by the way, I also want to wish everyone happy Kwanzaa today, because it's also one of those December holidays. Today is the first day of Kwanzaa. The name actually derives from Swahili phrase Matunda ya Kwanzaa. Matunda ya Kwanzaa. Oops. Which means first fruits. And there's actually a festival, First Fruits Festival, end of December, beginning of January in Southern Africa. But of course, there's a lot more to it, as you probably know. And one of the elements of Kwanzaa is the 7 principles. And I just found out that the Kwanzaa actually spells with 2 A's at the end, because the creator of the holiday wanted to have 7 letters in the name for 7 principles. So Kwanzaa has 7 letters with 2 A's at the end. Happy Kwanzaa. All right, so I have a wonderful kettle here. Oops. Not much room here on the table. And this here is tea that Melissa brewed for me earlier. And it's something I'm going to tell you about in a little bit. Okay, so has this just been boiled?
Well,
And
almost.
what degree? I need temperature 185 degrees.
Do you have a thermometer?
No, I don't. But okay, let's do the other one. Let's do the hot one first, because I'm going to do two methods. One is going to be using 185, and one is going to be using 195 degrees. Actually, it's going to be 200. 200. And we are going to steep it for only 3 minutes. And I'm going to time it on my watch. 3 minutes. And then I'm going to wait for this water to cool off a little bit to about 185 degrees. And we're going to compare these two steepings, and I'm going to tell you how they taste. I think I'm going to put the white paper here so you guys can see better. Tea experimentation, always fun. Okay.
You want to put it in this so it cools off?
Okay, yeah, let me have that. But do we have a thermometer in the back?
I'm looking. I think it's in that. Yeah.
Oh, yep. Yep, I got it. So we're trying to steep this in the cooler water for a little longer time. And this is 200 degrees, which is pretty hot. And for about 3 minutes, I'm down to about 1.5. Okay, actually that's about right. So 200 degrees, 3 minutes, 185 for 5 minutes. So what's going to happen is you see those silver needles, as they call them, but they're actually buds of tea. They kind of change directions they become a little more vertical. And it's kind of fun to watch them actually do that. It's like dancing of the leaves. Now, I will taste them both. I'm going to talk about difference in tastes. But there's no strict rules with white tea. White tea is a little more resistant to high temperature than green tea. Now, there's no joking around with green tea because you know if you steep green tea in too hot water, water that's too hot, it's going to turn bitter. Now, white tea, especially the silver needle, which is made solely from buds, which are pretty tough because they're thick, not fully, not developed yet. Those are going to be, let's give it a little swirl. So, yeah, these leaves already start sinking to the bottom. And this is the time for me to actually I'm doing all sorts of hokey pokey. Problem with running a store and then having only like half an hour to prepare is that unfortunately I'm not super duper prepared, but let's just do this. This is a really wonderful little teapot with a strainer built in, or you can use another strainer. There we go. This is the hot steep. And this tea, we're gonna give it another 3 minutes. Already has very prominent robust. I don't want to use the word robust because actually there's no such thing as robust with white tea. Okay, in the meantime, I just want to tell you that the lowest grade, unfortunately, but still white tea is used in tea blends. And we do have some delicious white teas. Like this one is called Dangerous Lemon White Tea. And yes, these teas are flavored with natural essential oils. So not only they are natural, obtained in, they basically identical with the ones that occur in actual real fruit, but they also very, very intense. So for those of you who haven't tried this, hi Shelly, I'm sorry, but the reception today is not so good. I think you can hear me, but I told everyone else that we are recording also on video camera, and this video will be posted on YouTube within a day or two on Blue Monkey Tea channel. And then we're going to put a link on Facebook, so you're going to have it nice and steady without these things, the freezing. And okay, so going back to flavored white teas, because if you just want to drink white tea for health benefit, which as we know there's plenty because white tea has the highest amount of antioxidants, then you can just go ahead and just drink flavored white teas like this one, Dangerous Lemon. Also, we have very good white teas here. We have tea called Mango Pear White. Delicious. We have White Champagne Raspberry, which I have here in my pot. We have peach. I don't know if we can see. Okay. So we have the White Champagne Raspberry tea. We have peach apricot. That's another great white tea. Very, very yummy. And it actually has quite a bit of buds in it too, so it's also higher quality. And this is called White Eternal Spring. White tea, rose hips, pineapple, cranberries, rose petals, apple pieces, hibiscus, blueberries. Okay. Okay, I'm just about done with my cooler steep. Like I said, I used pretty hot water to steep this cup of silver needle, and this here had water up about 185, so much cooler, and I extended the steeping time to 5 minutes. In fact, they don't recommend steeping white teas in tea ball or infuser because the natural way of steeping is for buds, especially silver needle. The buds actually like to turn side vertically, and if they're squished in inside the tea infuser, they don't have the capability of moving around freely, so you don't extract tea as well as if you let them float freely. Okay. These are great little pots. We sell them here. Oh, this is amazing. This definitely has like honeysuckle, lily, uh, maybe daffodil smell. It's so rewarding. I like the heat from that too. Okay, so let's give it a try. This is the hot brew with 200-degree water and 3 minutes. So we do have definitely floral notes, but there's also the more like depth and kind of like body in this tea, and it also has a wonderful kind of mossy, maybe slightly like nutty flavor. Honey, very sweet, very sweet. Even though like there's no sugar added to it, I'm really enjoying it. And what else is nice? It has a very long finish echo. Like I can still taste that tea for a long time after I take the sip. Good job, good job. And this was the colder brew. I brewed white tea with water of 185 degrees and for a longer period of time, 5 minutes. Oh my goodness, totally different. It's not that much different, but this definitely is much more delicate. A lot more aromatics, more aromatics than taste. Also sweet. You know that sweetness from tea bags because they accumulate sugar. That's energy necessary for them to open into leaves. This has like almost a little tanginess. Tangy? Tangy.
Tangy.
Tangy. Kind of like definitely like drinking a flower, but the taste is still pretty prominent. It's pretty strong. So you have like a combination of all different floral notes in it. I like it too. This one has more oomph, and it's more kind of uniform. Well, this one has lighter notes, but they're like more notes in it. So experiment. You can even experiment with other times and temperatures. But this tea is good stuff. Good stuff, and it's very healthy. Tune yourself in. Reserve time. Try not to eat before tasting, or rinse your mouth with clean water. Learn about tea before you try it, so you know what to look for in terms of tasting notes and aroma. Use softer water, and like I said, the white tea is a little more forgiving than green tea, so you can steep it with a pretty hot water, as you see. But also you can make a cold brew, totally cold brew. I hope you know what it is. If not, watch my episode on making iced teas. And I just want to finish off here, showing you. Oh, why don't I taste some of that? Let's use my little cup here. This is white champagne raspberry white tea. White champagne raspberry, since the new year is coming. It's definitely aroma of raspberry. There's a little bit of rose in it here too, I think. It could be good tea for New Year's. White champagne raspberry. You can make it cold and maybe add some sparkling soda to it. It will be white champagne raspberry champagne. Tea champagne. We also sell white matcha, believe it or not. It's actually powder tea made with white tea. It's called Elephant Ivory White Matcha. We do have white tea from, well, this is not white tea, but someone brought me tea called White Peach. But if you're looking for white tea in tea bags, there's really good selection of teas from Republic of Tea. We do have regular white tea. It's called Emperor White Tea, and as well as honey mango. There is Asian jasmine white tea, cucumber mint, all sorts of stuff. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today. This was presentation about white teas, which are not as known as other types of teas, but they can be wonderfully rewarding once you get to know them and you know how to steep them and what to look for in terms of notes and aromas. White teas tend to be a little more expensive because a big part of the white tea is usually a bud, and there isn't that many of those available. And like I said, it takes 10 million buds to make 1 kilogram of silver needle tea. So it's not as much. Yes, it is about tea buds and tea leaves and the ratio of those, because like silver needle will be only made from buds, and then bimudan or pimutan will be made of a bud and 1 leaf or 2 leaves, but they all have to be on the same branch, on the same twig. And the specific taste of white tea, the characteristic comes from specific processing of the leaves with the extended withering period. That with extended withering period allows specific flavor and aroma to develop, which otherwise wouldn't. So it's all about the withering. Withering. Okay, so thank you again for watching. This was Margaret from Blue Monkey Tea Company in Pittsburgh, and I invite you to my next presentation next Saturday, which will be in the new year, believe it or not, in 2021 on Saturday, January 2nd. Happy New Year, happy everything. Let's just hope this new year is going to bring more optimism and more joy. Vaccine, we know vaccine is coming, and take care. This is really good tea.
Okay.